It was a balmy Saturday morning in the quiet town of Crescent Falls, the kind of place where everyone knew everyone, especially at Oakwood High School, home of the Eagles. The sun had barely risen when students began arriving on campus, arms loaded with homemade crafts, baked goods, and hand-painted signs. They were setting up a charity fair unlike any in the school's history. Beneath all the bustling excitement lay a stark reality. Ms. Hayes, their beloved literature teacher, was in urgent need of surgery, and the medical bills were overwhelming. None of the students realized this fair would soon draw in one of Hollywood's most iconic figures, changing Ms. Hayes' life and the entire school forever. Ms. Hayes was the heart and soul of Oakwood High's English department, known for her warm smile, her knack for bringing Shakespeare to life, and her genuine interest in every student's dreams. When word got out that she needed a costly procedure that her insurance wouldn't fully cover, her students refused to stand aside. Senior class president Ava Morgan discovered just how serious the situation was and rallied the entire student body to host a one-day charity fair to raise as much money as possible. Early that morning, students set up booths across the school courtyard. One corner featured baked goods with witty, literature-themed names. Another offered face painting, games, and even a dunk tank where the principal perched with surprising good humor. Handmade crafts and I Heart Ms. Hayes t-shirts were ranged on tables, bright banners reading "Help Us Support Ms. Hayes" fluttering in a gentle breeze, although spirits were high. Some students quietly worried they might not raise enough to truly help their teacher. By 9 o'clock, parents and neighbors trickled in, dropping money into donation jars labeled with lines from Ms. Hayes' favorite novels. Teachers from neighboring schools came by too, adding laughter and supportive conversation. Yet as the hours passed, Eva noticed they were barely halfway to their goal. She put on a brave face, reminding everyone that every dollar helped, but inside she feared it might not be enough. Around 10, Ms. Hayes herself appeared, looking both touched and overwhelmed. Students erupted in cheers the moment they spotted her. She insisted she didn't want to draw attention away from their work, but they pulled her in with warm hugs. She was visibly tired, yet her eyes shone with gratitude. She quietly thanked every donor and did her best to reassure them. "I'm honored that you even tried," she said softly. Still, some younger kids couldn't hide their discouragement, feeling the sum wouldn't meet the towering medical bills. Shortly before noon, a tall man wearing a baseball cap and a leather jacket slipped into the fair and noticed. He ambled from booth to booth, pausing to ask questions about Ms. Hayes' situation. Students explained how she needed help and how important she was to them. He nodded, a faint, guarded expression on his face. No one realized at first that he was Clint Eastwood, traveling quietly through town for personal reasons. Sunglasses and a cap kept his iconic features partially hidden, so he passed as just another visitor, despite a steady stream of well-wishers. The donation total remained concerningly low. Some people started to leave as midday heat built up. Eva and her fellow council members counted the money, dismayed by how far they still had to go. Ms. Hayes, noticing their concern, offered gentle words of encouragement, though her own eyes betrayed the uncertainty she felt. Suddenly, the man in the leather jacket reappeared, walking straight to the mic near the small stage. People turned, curious. In a calm, gravelly voice, he began to speak. "I've seen a lot of communities come together in my day," he said, removing his cap. Murmurs spread, and recognition sparked in the crowd. He continued, "I don't think I've ever seen young folks show this much heart to help a teacher." A hush fell as more people realized who was talking. Clint Eastwood. Ms. Hayes, seated at a table, gasped and covered her mouth. The courtyard erupted into applause. Though Clint motioned for silence, he gestured to a man by the stage who handed him an envelope. "I hear Ms. Hayes is a wonderful teacher," he said. "I want to do my part to keep her in the classroom." He took a check out of the envelope and held it up, announcing the amount in a steady voice, $50,000. The moment he spoke those words, cheers and disbelief washed over everyone. Ms. Hayes rose to her feet, tears in her eyes, as students began hugging each other, shouting and crying. Eva, too stunned to speak, stared at the stage. Clint's generosity set off a chain reaction. Seeing such a large gift from a legendary actor pushed people in the crowd to contribute more. Parents who had only donated small amounts rushed to and checks. A local bakery owner pledged an entire month's profits. A retired teacher wrote another check on the spot. The principal had to bring out extra donation boxes, each filling up faster than anyone believed possible. Within minutes, the total soared. Clint stepped away from the microphone and approached Ms. Hayes directly. She was trembling with emotion, struggling to find words. "Thank you seems so small," she managed. He smiled kindly, insisting the real credit went to her students, who had fought so hard to help her. "What you do changes lives," he said. "They just needed a little push." Local news crews arrived, having heard rumors that Clint Eastwood was at Oakwood High. Students and parents gave interviews, describing how Ms. Hayes had touched their lives. Photos and videos of Clint holding the giant check spread across social media, accompanied by hashtags like #HelpMsHayes and #SchoolFairMiracle. Everyone who had arrived that morning anxious or uncertain now felt a renewed sense of unity and triumph. At one point, Ms. Hayes borrowed the microphone. Her voice unsteady but strong enough to address the crowd. "I've always said literature can bring hope, but today you showed me that actions speak louder than words. I promise I'll keep teaching, keep believing in my students, just as you believed in me." The applause that followed was thunderous. Many people wiped away tears. After pausing for a few photos at the request of several reporters, Clint quietly slipped away. He stopped briefly to hand a small card to Ava, the senior class president, telling her to call if they ever needed more help. She stood speechless, clutching it like a treasured keepsake. Within the next hour, donations skyrocketed. A local TV segment featured live coverage from the fair, and an online fundraising campaign soared past its initial target. The leftover funds, combined with new pledges, helped Oakwood High create a scholarship named after Ms. Hayes, dedicated to students who wanted to become teachers. Her medical bills finally looked manageable, and her procedure could be scheduled without delay. The entire community felt the joy of knowing they had done something monumental. A few months later, Ms. Hayes recovered well enough to return to her classroom. On her first day back, she found a framed photo on her desk. Everyone cheering at the fair the moment Clint Eastwood revealed his gift. Below it, in bold letters, someone had printed the words, "Never doubt the power of kindness." That single day of unity had grown into a lasting tradition for Oakwood High, a yearly fair that supported others in need. Through it all, Ms. Hayes became the living symbol of how compassion, determination, and a little help from a legendary star could transform an entire community for good. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs a reminder that small acts of kindness can spark incredible miracles. And if you'd like to hear more uplifting tales, don't forget to subscribe for more stories of hope, courage, and community.